Hello guys, this is Brewing Gale. This is my first video on YouTube, and this channel will be about homebrew stuff for D&D 5th edition. So stuff that I come up with, homebrew classes, subclasses, magic items, etc. Or stuff that I come across on the internet. This is my first attempt at making an homebrew class, and it's called the Vampire. I did not add any lore on the class yet. This is a class that it's not meant to be multiclassed into or trained into just like any other class, because you become a vampire through a curse or through a pact with the devil or stuff like that, and not through training just like any other classes. So the main point of the class is the hit dice, because the hit die, which is 1d8, it's not just meant to determine the HP as you progress in the level, but it's also a resource, so something you spend to fuel your attacks, your damages, your healing, and your spellcasting. And in the table, in the class table, you can see that the class is meant to be enough caster, and the axis marks the spell slot you have available at each level. But it's not like any other class where you have the spell slot like 2 spell slot for level 1 at first level, and then you get some more. You just have the ability to cast the spell at those level, but you don't have any limit on just how many you can cast, because you need to spend the resources to cast, which is the hit dice. Then for the proficiencies, you don't get armor proficiency, because you have a form of an armor defense, which is explained at level 1. You don't get martial weapons, but you just get simple weapons, even if the class is not really meant to use simple weapon. You get Constitution and Charisma saving throws, and then those skills. Child of the Night is the main feature of the class, which explain what you are as a vampire, your upside and downside. So you are an undead creature, which means that not only you can't be healed by cure wounds and healing word spells and such, you can't be healed at all by anything other than rest and true bites. So basically you are self-reliant, and you can't be healed by anyone other than you. And this is very important for the design of the class, because all the features you have help you in this design. You don't need to breathe, eat or drink, you no longer age, and you're immune to diseases. And then you get dark vision up to 120 feet, resistance to necrotic damage, vulnerability to radiant damage, and vulnerability to sunlight. So basically you get a worse version of sunlight sensitivity, which the Drow race has, or the Dwergar character race also has. This is here the spell list, which is later described for the spellcasting ability feature, which you get at level 3. And Blood Drinker is also one of the fundamental features the class gets. During a short rest, an ally adjacent to you can spend an hit die to allow you to regain twice the number of hit points normally regained. Since you are self-reliant, as I said earlier, any kind of healing you can get is important, and this is a way to get healing other than in combat. And then, for the in-combat part, your Fang Bite is a natural weapon, which means that it deals 1d8 plus strength modifier piercing damage instead of bludgeoning. When you hit with this attack, you gain an additional hit die. You don't have any limit on how many hit die you can have at once, but at the end of a long rest you only have as many as your level in this class. So yes, you can decide to accumulate more and more of these hit dice, but you don't have the ability to start a day with more than you should. which is as normal 1 hit die per level. Then Vampiric Reflexes, also at level 1. This is the unarmored defense type of thing you get, which is you can't hold a shield, but you can an armor class of 10 plus dexterity plus strength modifier. And then you get some more movement speed, which is 10 feet. Taste of Life. This is the first way, the first feature you have that allows you to spend your hit dice. When you hit an enemy with your bite attack, you can choose to spend an hit die instead of gaining it, and add the roll to the damage, and you heal for the total damage dealt this way. So keep in mind that, of course, you can heal for 10, 11, 12 points of damage each turn with this feature, but as I said, as a vampire you can't be healed by anything other than short rest or through bites. So this is very important for the design of the class, because this is the only way you have for you to heal in combat and to stay alive. In addition, when you successfully bite a creature, you can use a bonus action to try and grapple it, and then your bites have advantage against this creature. Then Night Hunter, at level 3 you gain proficiency and expertise, so double proficiency, in stealth and survival skills, and you can use your bonus action to spend 2 hit dice and take the shape of a beast, wolf or bat. The roll of those hit dice is added to the beast form as temporary points. So this is an important feature for the class, because it allows you to, just like a druid, it allows you to gain a big chunk of temporary points, so a big shield for you when you're being targeted by a many creature, or you're about to die. So the stat block for the wolf and bat forms are not the usual stat block you can get from the monster manual, but rather I modified them a little bit in order for you to better decide what it is important for you at that moment. Basically, the wolf is a little bit more tanky and it has more damage, where the bat is a little bit more utility based. It can fly, it has blind sight, and it can blind an enemy with an attack. Then you have the spellcasting ability at level 3. The spellcasting ability for this class, it's not similar to the spellcasting of the other classes, because you don't get spell slots, but rather you get the ability to use specific levels or spell at each vampire level, and this means that you don't have any limit on how many spells of each level you can cast, because the limit is only how many hit dice you have. The cost of casting a spell is 1 hit die per level of spell. So this means that if you want, you can accumulate your hit dice through biting an enemy and then spend all of your hit dice in spellcasting. But if you maybe use Taste of Life too many times, you won't have as many dice for you to cast some spells. You have to look for some balance in your style of play, and being this enough caster kind of class, you get to prepare your spell list between those listed here, and the number of spells you can prepare each day is equal to your charisma modifier plus half your vampire level. You get normal ability score improvement, just like any other classes, aside from fighter of course. At the level 5 you get Children of the Night. It does allow you to cast Conjure Animals once per day, to summon 1d4 Swarm of Bats, or 1d4 Swarm of Rats, or 1 Direwolf. At level 6 you get Feral Assault, which is another important way for you to spend your hit dice. because this is the main way you have to deal damage. So you get to make 2 attacks with your claws. Each of those attacks get an extra necrotic damage roll of 1d8. This means that you get your extra attack just like any other martial class, but it's not really an extra attack like the barbarian has, because the barbarian has it as a passive feature, something he can use every turn without spending any resource. Here you have to spend resources, and these resources are what you use to fuel everything you do, but when you do, you get more damage, so it is balanced that way. And in addition, you get that your unarmed strike and bite count as magical for the purpose of overcoming resistance. So just like the monk class, which utilize unarmed strike, and so it needs to have this kind of feature because at medium to high level monsters often have this kind of resistance or immunity to non-magical attacks. Then at level 7 you get the fact that this is one very important defensive tool you have to stay alive, because you are self-reliant in the healing department, which means that nobody can heal you even when you go to 0 points. And that's when the heal are very much more important, because either you are on the ground doing your saving throw and risking to die, or you get healed and get back into combat. So with the fact that you don't have this problem, because you can use your resource to go to 1 hit point instead of 0 when you go to 0. And in addition, you have advantage on that saving throw for you to more easily roll that 20 and get back on your own when you don't have any more hit dice. And so this is the main way you have to not get out of the game right at the start if one enemy come close to you and crits you to death, and you get 0 point and you're out of the game. In this way you can still play, you can still do your combat, even if with some problem at 1 point. Then drain the last drop at level 9 basically gives you more resources per day. So it is an amount of hit dice equal to your proficiency bonus per day extra. And those hit dice you get when you get to drain all the blood left in a corpse of an enemy that not necessarily you did kill, but also your allies or whatever you may have found dead in the wild, or I don't know. The important thing is that it should not be dead for more than 2 minutes, so it has to be fresh. Then Test of Life improvement at level 10, which is of course based on Taste of Life from level 2. When you use this feature, you heal for double the damage you deal, so another defensive tool. Then Shadow Skulker at level 11, that enhance the ability of your wolf and bat forms. So they get +3 armor class, they get multi-attack, 2 attack per turn when they use the attack action, and then the attacks count as magical for the purpose of overcoming resistance. Oh, I just noticed this part here should be over a line break, because it's not linked obviously to this part here. So in addition to this, you get dark vision that allows you to see through the magic darkness. And so basically this part, this Shadow Skulker feature, allows you shape-shifting abilities to be better in combat, not only as a defensive mechanism, but overall as a offensive mechanism, so that your wolf and bat form are not only mid shield, but can do something, can do some damage to enemies. Then fresh prey. This is to me the coolest part of one of the coolest feature you get as a vampire, because this means that when you kill a creature with your bite attack, you get to control the enemies you just killed for one turn. Picture that you're in combat and you have one big enemy that is about to die and maybe 4 to 5 smaller minions. You get to have the killing blow on the big enemy, and this is under your control for one turn, so you get their abilities and you get to destroy the enemy for that turn. So to me this is pretty cool, as a way to also reward the player, because they get to see the capabilities of the enemy after they killed it. Then Unleashed Fury is a way for you to get your Feral Assault feature, which is the level 6th one, enhanced as well, improved. So not only you get to do your 2 attacks with your claws, but you get to make 3 attacks instead, at the cost of 1 hit die. And still those attacks they deal on the 8 extra necrotic damage. But because I'm not really sure yet about the balance of this class, and my player, the player who is using this class, has not reached the 14th level yet, I'm not sure if this feature may need some balancing around maybe the cost of the feature. Maybe when you use 1 hit die you get to do 2 attacks, and when you use 2 hit dice you get to do 3 attacks, because this may deal a lot of damage. But anyway, it's 14 level, so maybe it's not that big of a deal. You should need the scale in this regard, so maybe it's okay like that. Let me know what you think about it. Miss Escape on level 15 is another way for you to get out of trouble when things get hidden, and it's basically a reaction to avoid some damage when you're about to get hit, as you get to use the spell Gaseous Form to escape the damage. As you get some flying speed, you can also relocate to a better, safer place on the battlefield. But the downside is that you revert to your vampire form at the end of your next turn, so you don't get to attack or do any action on that turn. The design of it is kind of like the Warlock invocation Tomb of Levistus, when you get a big shield, so you cannot get damage that turn, but you also get to lose your next turn. So you have to think about when it's the optimal time to use this feature. Level 18, you get Empowered Fangs, so your Bite and Claws damage die becomes 1d12, and it can score critical hit with a roll of 19 and 20, and then when you score a critical hit you gain 1 additional hit dice. So at level 18 you get to do more damage, more easily crit, and you get to have more resources, because you have this 10% probability to roll a critical hit, and when you do, you get 1 additional hit die. So even if you spend your hit die with Feral Assault, you have 2 chances to restore 1 additional hit die for the crit. So you get to have a lot of resources at this level, but I mean, it's level 19, maybe you don't really need to have such restriction on the resources. I don't know, because I didn't, as I said, I didn't have any chances to playtest this class at higher levels. God of Death at level 20, which is the capstone, and is inspired by the capstone of the Paladins. So it's not a passive thing, something you have during the day, but you have to choose when you use it, because the transformation only lasts 1 minute and you can use it just once per long rest. But it's pretty strong, because you get rejuvenation, you get some regeneration, 10 hit points per turn, you get resistance to all damages, so these 10 hit points are worth double, and then you can frighten the enemies around you. They get a wisdom saving throw, or become frightened for you from 1 minute, or until they take damage. but the attack roll against the frightened creatures have advantage. So this means that this is not only is a defensive tool for the regeneration and resistance, and the disadvantage the frightened creature has, it's a bit of an offensive tool too, because you get advantage in your attack rolls, and remember that you have higher probability to roll a critical hit, so advantage is very good to have. So this ends the description of the vampire class. I hope you find it fun. As I said earlier, it's still in playtesting, so I'm not sure about the balance, but as of now the balance seems to be in a good place, and we're playing a tier 2, so they started at level 6 and now the player is level 8, and it seems to be fun and balanced. So let me know what you think about it, and see you guys next time for some more homebrew stuff. So bye!